Bhuya, similar language. Bhuya. Shrinu me, hear from me. Paramam vachaha. Again that word. Vachaha. Shrinu, hear from me. Paramam, the supreme. This is, again, paramam means transcendental. It does not mean worldly, laukika. The opposite. Paramam vacha or Vaikunta vacha. And then ishto si medham iti to vakshami te hitam. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. You see? This will do you real good, Krishna is saying. And then he gives this instruction, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajimap. Become my devotee. Always think of me, worship me. Bow down before me, and my servants become very meek and humble. Sarvadharma prityaga. Mamekam sharanam braja, famous. 1866, the whole Charan Shloki of Bhagavad Gita. And in this same section, Krishna says, yes, here he says, in the text 58, of chapter 18, very important point. Machitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishise atta chitvam ahankaram na shoshashi vinangshashi. So na shoshashi means if you do not hear from me, if you do not do this hearing, vinangshyasi, you will be destroyed, you will be lost. You see? If you become conscious of me, matchitta, sarva durgani, mat prasadat tadashisi, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. Very significant language. Sarva durgani, Durga Devi, is the mistress of this material world. Durga in Sanskrit literally means prison. Durga. Actually, we have cognates to this combination of root words in our own languages. Like Doer. Doer in English and many other languages. This prefix Doer means something that's very tough, hard, difficult. Like duress. A person who is in duress means he's in great difficulty. He's suffering. Or even something is durable, means very hard to break. So Doer, it gives the sense of an obstacle that is very, very difficult to go over. And then Ga, like we say in English, go. Durga means Durga Devi makes your going difficult. That's how this word Durga is to be translated. Durga Devi, the mistress of the material world, she has imprisoned you here, and therefore it is very, very difficult for you to go anywhere except through the cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age. Again and again and again and again. And so Krishna declares, has already declared earlier in the Bhagavad Gita, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Dur again. Mama Maya Duratyaya. My Maya is extremely difficult to overcome. It means there's nothing we can do on our own to get out of this fallen condition. Then he goes on to say, but if you surrender to me, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mamevam ye prapadyante, mayamitam tarantite. Then you will cross beyond it. Now, this verse, 1858, Krishna is saying basically the same thing, but he's giving additional elaboration. Because the question may be, all right, so Krishna is saying, Mamevam ye prapadyante, surrender to me. But how do I go about doing that? What's the specific process? What does Krishna want from me? What does he want me to do? That he will recognize I'm surrendering to him, and therefore let me cross beyond his maya, which is otherwise impossible to get over. That is being explained here. Machita, he says, you become conscious of me. You become conscious of me. So this mameviye prapadyante, in other words, not blind surrender. It's not blind surrender. You know, oh yes, okay, Krishna, I give up. You see, whatever you want, I don't know what you want, but whatever you want. You see, not that. You know, Krishna says, Machita, you become conscious of me. It means you must attain this, what we heard in tonight's verse, sabhigyana. You must attain this realization of my spiritual nature. This is what Machita means. Then, Sarva Durgani Mat Prasada Tarishasi. Then, Mat Prasada means by my grace, my mercy. Tarishasi means crossover. Crossover. Like I speak of this. Kali Santarana Upanishad. Kali, the age of Kali. Santa, the saintly persons. Taran, how they will cross over the age of Kali. So Tarishasi, another form of the same word. So by my mercy, Tarishasi, you will cross over what? Sarva Durgani. The entire obstacle course of this material existence, which nobody can get out of on their own. It is so formidable. Sarva Durgani, the whole thing, you will cross over by my grace. If you become conscious of me. And how do you become then in this word, we in this verse, last line, Shoshashi, you hear. Tat Shrunu, Krishna says elsewhere. Shrunu me, hear from me, again and again. Hear from me, hear from me. Krishna is acting as Arjuna's guru. And this is the essence of that relationship. Guru is not about, simply nice smile. Prabhupada said, used to sarcastically remark about, long white beard and big turban. This is the accoutrements of guru for many people, you see. If he has nice saffron cloth and long white beard and a big turban, and can smile and be very, very charismatic, then this is guru. This is guru. Yes, he is my guru. He opens his mouth. He reveals himself to be a fool, talking all nonsense, saying, I am God, you are God, but I know that I'm God and you don't, so therefore you have to worship me. And eventually you will become God, but not as long as I'm around. As long as I'm here, you can't be God. I'm God. So worship me. Some idiot philosophy like that they speak. So this is nonsense. We shouldn't hear that. But Krishna says, Shoshashi, hear from me this knowledge. Hear from me this knowledge. And then you'll Machita, become conscious of me. It's by the hearing process. But in this verse, the warning is given. Atachatvam ahankara nash shoshashi vinangshasi. If you do not hear from me, then you will be captured by ahamkara, false ego. In other words, you will, because the issue here in Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna is fighting. And this is explained in the next verse also, text 59 further. Krishna is because your nature, you are Kshatriya. So you will fight. You are now, you have been telling me, I shall not fight. But your nature will overcome you, and you will fight. If not here, you will fight elsewhere. But because you have refused to accept what I am teaching here today, this Bhagavad Gita, then your fighting, your activity will all be under amkara, false ego. You will be thinking you are the doer. And the penalty for thinking I am the doer, you see? It's a very logical and just penalty. No one can protest. If I perform activities in this world on my own volition, in other words, I'm doing them for me. I want certain things. So I am acting, I am thinking, I'm the doer. I'm in this conception. I will do this and attain that. Then Durga, the Maya Shakti, she says, very nice, very fine. You are the doer, so I will make you responsible for all your activities. That's what you want. You claim to be the doer. Then you will have to pick up the tab. You know, as they say, pick up the tab. You know, you go into a restaurant, you order a big meal, and then the waiter comes at the end with the tab. And if you're there with guests, then, generally one person, if he wants to prove something to the others, he'll say, I'll pick up the tab, I'll pay for everything. Yeah, so that's what happens to the living entity. Maya Devi comes with a big tab. And she goes into infinite detail. So you, dear Jiva, you proclaimed yourself the doer. You say you are Karta. Yes, I am Karta. Yes, I am the actor. All right. So now we have a bill here. You taking responsibility for all your activities. When you were on such and such date, walking down the street to go to the grocery store to buy these goods for your pantry, you, with every step, you crushed the life out of 33,423,568,321 living entities. And this was on July 21st, 1992, at 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Then at 1:31 p.m., and so in this way, every single thing that we do, she holds us accountable for. And how are you going to pay this tab? You cannot. Therefore, what happens when you run up a bill and you can't pay it, then you're subject to punishment. You see? So the punishment is all under the law of karma. You can't pay such a bill, so you have to take birth again. And all those living entities that suffered on your account, because you were thinking you were the big doer, in charge of everything and everyone, this is your world, you're the master. All those living entities that suffered, then they get a chance to take their revenge. They get a chance to do harm to you, and this is the way it goes. And you can immediately, when you think of this, just for a few seconds, then you can understand why the jiva who thinks he's the doer is Nithyabadi, eternally bound up. There's no end to it. Just in this one human life, just in one day of a human life, one accumulates so much karma that the births could not be counted, that one has to take to pay back all this transgression of laws of nature and doing harm to other creatures in one 24-hour period. That is already birth for far beyond our power to understand. So many births. What to speak of a whole lifetime? Day in, day out. You see? Because acting on one's own account means acting for sense gratification. And acting for sense gratification means I think I'm the enjoyer. And what am I enjoying? I'm enjoying the lives of others. I'm enjoying other living entities. You see? Huh? Walking down the street, one sees a nice flower, pull it out of the ground. Ah, very nice smell. Throw it away. You see? This is the attitude. Oh, you just took the life of a flower. You're responsible. Maya will come with her tabulation. Every breath of air we take. Every breath of air, we're breathing. And so many living entities are going into our nose and getting caught in the nose hairs and dying there. See, every time we chew anything, even if we're vegetarian, there's so many little microbes, living entities on the apple or whatever, and we're eating them too. Thinking, I'm vegetarian, I'm practicing ahimsa. But every bite is a holocaust. So, this is what Krishna is saying. Na shroshasi. If you do not hear from me, if you do not hear how to get out of this world, as I am telling you, vinangshasi, then you will be lost. Acting under false ego, thinking I am the doer. So we have to give up. We have to give up this. This is the misconception that the living entity has to be purified of, that I am the doer. Even these jnanis are still thinking the same thing. To get back to my original point, when they're doing this neti, it is simply out of frustration that I have tried to enjoy this material world and I only suffered. So now let me get myself out. They're still thinking I'm the doer. You see? Now let me, by my own, superior intellect and vast learning of Upanishad, Vedanta, let me get myself out of Maya. Now you still think you're the doer. You're still an illusion. And that means you'll go nowhere. You'll just remain in this material world. So this is the meaning of surrender to me. It must be in knowledge. We can only surrender to Krishna if we know our constitutional position is part and parcel of Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna's spiritual energy. That is what we are. Krishna says we belong. He says, Prakriti vidi me param. You have to know my superior, para prakriti. And that is the living entity. This is again what he's talking about. Jnanam teyaham sabhijnanam. There is this material world and there is the spiritual world. And you, Jiva, belong to the spiritual world. And this is what you have to know. We are thinking we are the doer and all this nonsense, enjoyer, because we think we belong to the material world. We think we are this body. We think we are this mind. We think we belong here. This is my home. This is our big mistake. And therefore we become addicted, simply addicted to this path of birth and death. Addicted to mundane activity, addicted to mundane knowledge, addicted to all mundane conceptions, even such conceptions of spiritual life, mundane conceptions of spiritual life, mundane religion, mundane everything. Maya addicts. So therefore Krishna is proclaiming this transcendental knowledge that he is teaching. This is the means of ridding ourselves of that addiction, of that attraction. Param drishtva, higher taste. It is to be gained by this hearing process. Alright, so we will stop here. Thank you very much. Would there be any question at this time? Yes?
It's described that this nominal reflects to the phenomenal. Does it mean that the substance of the spiritual world becomes reflected and then becomes substance here? Or does it mean that the qualities are only reflected? Or is it that the substances are totally different and the spiritual substance is transforming into the material substance?
Well, the Lord's energy, his Shakti, is ultimately one. There's only one substance. But that is for him, that is for Krishna. That is for him to understand. That is for him, that substance is for him to manipulate. We are the Lord's energy. We are his marginal energy. So we are not in a position to understand the Lord's energy in that way. We're simply not in a position. Oh, well, theoretically we cannot. We have the examples Prabhupada gave us of electricity. It is one thing, but in an electric oven it heats, and an electric refrigerator or freezer it freezes. So one is broiling things, making things very hot, and another is making things very cold, but same energy. So we can understand that way, but practically speaking in our life, here is this material nature. It is also called in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, Brahma. Mahad Brahma, it is called. It is the Lord's energy. But it is acting against us. It is we belong to the Lord's spiritual nature. Mama Aivangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutta Sanatana. That is us. We are Sanatana. We are eternal. But this material energy, which in essence is also eternal, in its ultimate essence. But how is it acting? It is acting, going through cycles and cycles of Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya, creation, maintenance, destruction, and recreation, again and again and again and again and again. And Mahavishnu breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Cosmic manifestation and cosmic destruction, manifestation again, destruction. So, this is Krishna's energy, but it is acting as his inferior separated energy. This is why, you see, ultimately, this Krishna's energy is personified. Is a person. Who is that person? When we speak of the original one, Adya, Shakti, original energy, that is Srimati Radharani. But just as Krishna, he's one, Eko Deva, Nitya Nirukto Bhakta Vyapi Hridarantaratma. God, Eko Deva, is one. But he has unlimited devotees, and he has an individual personal relationship with every one of the devotees. Although he is one. Now that is not possible if we take God's oneness in any ordinary sense, that he is one isolated individual. How can one, you see, one person, he cannot find time to have relationship with even 20 or 50 or 100 people in a day. It's very difficult. What to speak of, I mean, you cannot count the number of devotees in Vaikuntha Dham. So if we take this stereotyped conception of oneness as meaning there's one Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, that's it. Now we know Krishna expands. Krishna expands in the Rasa Lila. There's Krishna next to every gopi. Not only that, for devotees in other rasas, other bhavas, he expands in other rupas. Therefore, Lord Ramchandra is there. Therefore, Lord Nrsimhadev is there. Therefore, Lord Narayan is there. So many Narayan forms. All of them are Krishna. And similarly, Srimati Radharani, the Adya Shakti. He is Adi Purush. She is Adya Shakti. But she has expanded. So many gopis and then so many Lakshmis. And finally, she is also Durga too. But Durga, as a Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, Gaudiya Vaishnava Grantha, Goswami Grantha, the writings of the Goswamis tell us, Durga Devi is 1/1,000,000th of 1/1,000,000th of a part of Radharani's potency. You separate from Radharani 1/1,000,000th of her potency. And then from that 1 millionth, you divide that into 1 million parts and take one of that. And then you have Durga. And Durga is considered, you see, there's this class of religionists in India called the Shaktas, and they consider her all-powerful. But she's only 1 millionth of 1 millionth part of Radharani. They consider all-powerful, yes, because although being fragmental expansion, amsa of Radharani, she has sufficient power to keep all the wayward, non-devotee jivas under her tight control, total control. So this is, Prabhupada said, Durga is, or Mahamaya is another phase. I think I explained this. The way Prabhupada said it when he initiated one of his disciples, Mahamaya Devi Dasi. You could say he said face or phase of Radharani. Face, meaning just like Krishna's Vishwarup, you see so many faces coming out. Finally, your face is also there somewhere. That doesn't mean you are Krishna, but you are expanded from the original person. And Srimati Radharani also. So one of her faces is that of Durga, Kali Ma, the Shakti of the material world. Just like Krishna also, Natyadar. His name is Natyadar, the great actor, the greatest actor. So, who is Lord Shiva? This is Krishna in a role. Mahadev, Lord Shiva. This is Krishna, but in a particular role. So you see, the actor has always so much more versatility than any particular role that he plays. Those who are, staunch Hindus who have taken this, been bitten by this Mayavadi philosophy, poison, they object when we say Krishna is the original person, Shiva is, like Bhagavatam says, Vaishvanam Yata Shambhu. Lord Shiva Shambhu, he is a Vaishnava, he's a devotee of Krishna. They don't like this. They either want to say Shiva is supreme, or they want to hear that Shiva, Krishna, Durga, all these gods, all are the same, all equal. And you can worship anyone. Makes no difference. But no, Krishna is the Natyadar. He's the original actor. So yes, we will agree. Yes, we can say, because Brahma Samhita says that Shambhu is a form of Krishna. So in that sense, they are the same. But it's just like an actor, a great thespian. It's a fancy word for actor. He can play so many roles. Some actors are very, very versatile. They're amazing in their versatility. So in one movie or stage play, they'll play, handsome, young man, dashing hero, then in another one they'll play a very bad man, evil, just the opposite. And then in another they'll play a very old man, although he's a young man, you see. So he's showing his versatility. So the original actor always has so much more versatility than any specific character he plays. Because when he's in character, then he's locked into this one role. Now he's the dashing young hero. Play some actors, there's been some recent films where a male actor plays a female, a woman. You see, I remember years ago, Dustin Hoffman. He played in such a movie. He dressed up like a woman. He was acting like a woman so perfectly. So they're so versatile. The original actor, so many roles come out. So this is Krishna, and this is also Radharani. So Radharani, for her pleasure, she assumes the role of Durga. You see? Radharani is such a nice, chaste, all perfect, the perfect image of divine woman. But sometimes she puts on all black makeup and puts a third eye, has long crazy hair and a garland of skulls, and really lets it all go. 10 arms. You see? Or all of that is within her, you see, and manifests. And this is God. Everything comes from God. Aham Savasya Prabhavo. So Durga is a face or a phase, like the phase of the moon. Purnima, Amavasya. Purnima is Radharani, Amavasya is Kali. God is Kali. So the Shakti is one that we can understand philosophically, but because we are jiva, we are so small, we are marginal, in between. Marginal means we are tatastha, in between. Therefore we cannot just, all is one. Krishna's energy is one. There's no difference between material energy and spirit. We're not in the position to say that. We have to make distinction. If we do not, then we will become offenders and fall down. So therefore there's this knowledge that Krishna is giving, so that we can distinguish. So it is, the answer to your question is, Krishna's energy is one, but it is so powerful and so wonderful, so inconceivable, therefore it is called Achintya Shakti, that this one energy acts in different ways. So it is acting as the spiritual manifestation and also as the material manifestation. And this is all going on under Krishna's order, Krishna's will. Anything else? Yes?
We're talking about that Socrates and Plato were expounding Vedic ideas, like the world of ideas. But
to some degree, yeah, they had some.
But can we also say that anything that is useful to serve in service of Krishna doesn't necessarily have to come from India, of course. Like the harmonium is from France, and then it's more like an amalgam of parts of different cultures.
Well, where does everything come from? Does it come from India or come from Krishna?
But my point is that the devotees are so fixed on saying everything comes from India. India is beautiful. India is perfect. India is right. But it doesn't depend on where it comes from. Rather, it depends on whether it's useful in the service of Krishna. So the Greeks, maybe it was a Vedic idea. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was their own creation.
But you can't prove that. You're just talking.
Can you prove that it was Vedic?
Well, the Greek language is definitely connected to Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is older than Greek. That's accepted. So therefore the linguists themselves have set up this, what they call the Indo-European family of languages. And of these languages, Sanskrit is the oldest. And what do languages convey? They convey ideas. So when you see even in the New Testament, in the Greek New Testament, which is translated into English, it talks about the glorified body, when that Christ, for example, after his crucifixion, came back for 40 days and revealed what is termed a glorified body. And it is promised to the faithful Christians that they will also attain such a glorified body. So in the Greek language, the word for glorified body is pneuma somatica, something like, yes, pneuma somatica. So pneuma, actually, just like we have the word pneumatic tire, it refers to air. So it is equivalent of the Sanskrit prana, pneuma, prana, and soma is equivalent to sharira. So prana sharira. That means a subtle body. So we see the language is similar and the concepts are similar. There is a definite relationship. And there is even historical evidence. It is thought that one of the Neoplatonists named Plotinus, that he had inherited this knowledge of Plato and he wanted to become perfect in it. He wanted to perfect this Platonic philosophy. He was after Plato. So he tried to go to India. He didn't make it, so he accepted a teacher who was in Alexandria in Egypt, named Sakyamuni, I think. And it is said that he was from India. He was an Indian who had come to live in Egypt. So Plotinus couldn't make it to India because he wanted to get the full complete knowledge that Plato had also derived his philosophy from. So his goal was to go to India. And when he couldn't, he accepted an Indian guru in Egypt and learned from him. That's history. These are things I found not in BBT books, but just history books.
And I can make another objection to name some idea from history, like that the power in a state should be divided into three parts, the three-part political something. This was a French idea, in fact, right? Power should be shared. It's not from India, but it works. It has been working in the West for centuries now. And although it's not perfect, it's the best it's the best we can get. And also, democracy is not a Vedic idea. It's from the Greeks. So all these beautiful concepts, they spring not from India.
So what are you trying to say by this?
Well,
because